Today, we're doing a deep dive into the blueprint of WHT Global, a company so massive, it's, and I'm not kidding, literally building the world we live in. We're going to explore how they're designing everything from our cities to our energy grids. So let's jump right in. Seriously, just think about it for a second. The highways you drive on every single day, the airports you fly out of, the very energy that powers your home. It's so easy to take all of that for granted, right? But behind so much of this incredibly complex infrastructure, you might just find one single powerful name. All right, so here's our game plan for understanding WHT. First, we're going to lay the foundation, figure out who they really are. Then we'll look at their framework, the super modern ways they actually build stuff. After that, we'll see the amazing structures they create, and then we'll go beyond the build to look at their other services, which might surprise you. And we'll wrap it all up with the smart layer of tech that makes it all possible. You know, to understand any great building, you have to start with its foundation. It's the most important part. So before we get to the skyscrapers and the tunnels, let's ask that fundamental question. Who exactly is WHT Global? So their whole purpose isn't just about mixing concrete and steel, not at all. Their mission is all about using innovation to build a better tomorrow. And you got to pay attention to the keywords they use here: smarter, more efficient, and sustainable. This vision, this idea, it really sets the stage for every single thing they do. And that vision is held up by these core values. Think of them as the company's internal compass. They're obsessed with innovation and quality, they're guided by really strict governance, and they're deeply committed to sustainability. These aren't just words on a poster. These ideas shape every decision, from the top of the boardroom right down to the construction site. Okay, so that's the foundation, the who and the why. But what about the how? How do they actually manage to bring these absolutely colossal projects to life? Well, let's move on to the framework and see how they turn their principles into actual practice. Their whole method is this really smart 4-step process, and it's all designed for maximum efficiency. It all starts with what they call pre-construction, which is just a fancy way of saying they plan every single detail to minimize any surprises later on. Then they use a design-to-build model, which means they combine steps that are normally separate to save a ton of time and money. Sustainability is woven through everything, and this is the really cool part. It's all powered by virtual design. They can build, test, and perfect an entire project in a digital world before anyone even puts a shovel in the ground. Now, one of their biggest advantages, their secret weapon really, is how much they use prefabrication. Instead of building everything on site, where you have to deal with bad weather, delays, all sorts of problems, they build huge sections in a controlled factory. And the result? It's way faster, the quality is higher and more consistent, and it creates so much less waste than the old school way of doing things. It's a real game changer. All right, we've seen the foundation of their values and the framework of their process. Now let's get to the really exciting part, the actual, massive, mind-blowing structures they create. So where do they point all this incredible power? Well, this chart makes it pretty clear. Their work is totally dominated by 3 main areas. Infrastructure is the giant here. I mean, it just towers over everything else. That's followed by huge projects in energy and then healthcare. The big takeaway here isn't just that they're busy, it's that WHO is literally building the backbone of modern society. And when we say infrastructure, believe me, we mean it on a grand scale. We're talking about the things that connect us all. National railways, massive highways, sprawling metro systems for our cities, iconic bridges, international airports, and incredibly complex tunnels dug right through mountains. This is literally nation-building stuff. But, and this is where the story takes a really fascinating turn, if you think WHT is just a construction company, you're only seeing a small part of the blueprint. They do so much more than just the physical build. And this chart just lays it all out. WHT Global is a truly diversified powerhouse. Of course, construction is the biggest piece of the pie, but look at this. They have entire divisions dedicated to energy, finance, and real estate. So think about it. They don't just build the structures, they're involved in financing them, managing the property, and even powering them. And the key that connects all of this is technology. Which brings us to the final and, maybe the most important layer of the whole blueprint, the technology. The tech that sits on top of and enhances every single thing they do. This is their smart layer. Yeah, their technology division is so much more than an internal IT department. It is a full-on engine for innovation. The company's own goal is, and I quote, to harness the power of innovation to deliver cutting-edge technological solutions. See, they're not just building for their own projects. Their goal is to create smarter systems for entire industries. A perfect example of this big picture strategy is their tech arm, WTech, forming a major partnership with Delphi Sonic. This move shows a really deep understanding that, hey, they can't invent every breakthrough themselves. By teaming up with specialized innovators, they make sure they stay on the absolute cutting edge of what's possible. So, from the foundation to the framework, the structure to all their other services, all of it powered by this layer of smart technology, that is the blueprint of WHT Global. And it leaves us with one final, pretty crucial question. If this is the world they're building for us today, what kind of world will they design for us tomorrow?